Welcome back to the European League, going into game number 4 of the day. MNM Gaming coming up against G2 Esports. Now, boys, in a time long gone by, this may have been a real screamer of a match, but right now, we're looking at two teams still really trying to find themselves in some ways.
I think it's still going to be a screamer of a matchup. It's an important one.
For the wrong reasons.
For the wrong reasons, but I mean, there is an opportunity that either of these two teams will make it to Berlin still. And I did the math, and with Heroic dropping points, BDS still playing, could still lose out on points as well. If G2 win 3 out of their next 4 games, their decider to see who goes to Berlin is going to be against Heroic.
The problem is there, you said winning 3 or 4 games.
Yes, but they have some okay opponents coming up. So for MNM, Pones, Outsiders, and Secret.
All of which are doable. Yeah, 100%. It's all doable. That's not a question about it.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll talk about doable in just a moment. Let's take a look at G2 first, Hap, as well, our first roster in this matchup. Again, a team that have really struggled to get things together so far, it feels like. But could today be that day after their first win on the last Playday?
See, that's the thing, and that's what I said during the last Playday as well. This is a win that they can hopefully start building off, because they were struggling. The worst ever start they had to a stage with going 0-3 basically. They picked up some very important points. However, some news hit with Chaz leaving the team at the end of the stage as well, and that leaves you to wonder, is this going to be the wake-up call that these players need to start performing right now to make sure that they qualify for Berlin, because they're only 300 meters away from the venue.
I'm sure you'll see them around in some part, whether or not there, but you are right. It's the end of an era, right? It's a big one. You know, Shaz moving along. Hopefully, there's some of the players have tweeted out this is a big stir up for them now, realizing, all right, guys, it's time to shape up or shape out, essentially. Right?
It's their fault that he's going. They have underperformed as a team in an experiment and in a way that Chaz wanted to have the team formed. They have underperformed. It's their fault he's going. So even if it comes as a surprise to them, only themselves to blame.
Not just me who's not at all surprised that sympathy is generally on the low from this man, right? It can't be just me on that front.
Are you surprised?
Let's move Fabian away before he goes into a deeper rant about G2 and their woes. Let's talk about MNM as well, the other team in this matchup. The UK boys, Fabian, they've looked good at points. They've had a tough run of games in their first 3, and now are coming into slightly easier streak of games. Could this be another one on their win notch?
So you'd never really know with MNM. I mean, they have had the 3 roughest games to begin with this stage, right? They played against Rogue, they played against Wolves, and they played against Heroic. All 3 in a row. So that they are in the middle of the table is maybe not so... Like, it's easy to understand. They played against what we consider the 3 strongest team in the league. Now they're going in and they've beaten Team Secret, so that we stay here and say, yeah, they're a middle team. We don't really know that yet because they've only really played against top-tier teams. And they have a team inside of them. They are a very talented team. They have 3 players that are considered mechanically heavy players that are very talented, and then they have Nello and Neo in the backline to support those players. I think people underestimate MNM for this game a lot. Because we're saying here, oh yeah, G2 have had their struggles and now they won their first game against Na'Vi. And they won against Na'Vi, who was, well, they were in a qualification spot at that time. Na'Vi, so far, before that game, had only played against Outsiders, Pones, and Team Secret, teams that are, well, bottom of the table. So I don't know if winning against Na'Vi is really a show of force from G2. I think MNM is where they need to show that we can beat teams that are solid, because I think MNM is 1 step above Na'Vi, and I think that they have a really good team to show that.
It's like going up a floor and slay the Spire, it feels like now. You're not against the first floor easy boss anymore in Na'Vi. You're coming up against some real hard competition.
For sure.
Time will tell. We have got a head-to-head to go through here as well. I know you picked out 2 players here for us, Fabian. So talk us through why you wanted to raise Tyrant and Prano.
You look at the operators that they played, and it's very different operators, right? One is an anti-fragger and playing basically anti-fragging. The other one is a hard support. The thing with these 2 players have in common is that they've had a rough stage so far. And why I want to highlight that is not because I want to be like, oh, look at Tyrant, he's not performing on the plus-minus, or look at Prano, he's not performing on the plus-minus. I want to highlight them in the sense of, this is the game for them to wake up. If you don't wake up now, there might be questions that starts coming from your own team about you. They just need to take the step up here. They need to start performing, and they need to show up. If that is just a +-0 game, that is better than another -4, -5 game. They just need to wake up, both of them.
Go big or go home, right? It's really the summary of this. But we get to see what map this is also going to take place on as well. Let's take a look at where we're heading to for this fixture. And between these 2 teams, we're rifled all the way down. We're going on to Skyscraper. That's a map we've only seen G2 play once this year. And MNM, I don't recall ever seeing them on Hap.
I don't recall so either, so this might be something that they kept in pocket and are waiting to show at the right timing. And if they do so against G2, a very important matchup for both these teams, because MNM currently 2 points away from that top 4 spot. They can break into a top 4 spot here. It could be the very right moment to do so.
Looks a bit dicey for Heroic as well, who was after that loss earlier on and now kind of into that scrap as well. Final thoughts on this, Fabian?
I don't have any specific thoughts of the map. I think that no matter what, G2 will struggle in their attacks because they've had problems with it. We'll see, because they tried Citizen on Hibana and a more supportive role in their last game, which was Club. It's a very different map, but at the same time, somewhat similar. You need more of a structure on Skyscraper. If he plays the same role, I think G2 will take it, and I have done my predictions with my heart. G2 will make it. My head, I don't know if they will take it with that one.
All right, well, there's some big calls coming out, but the game is ready for us to go. Now, me and Tim are taking a break and putting our feet up for a little while, which means you get the delightful company of Milos and Emmy once again. Over to you guys for this game.
Thank you very much, Des. Here we are back at it again. Milos, this is Fluke, and we're looking as best as we can be. Let's be completely honest. We're ready to go for our matchup, and we're getting to cast G2 today. I mean, what a day it's been.
For us, for G2?
I mean, for us, let's
The
say
G2
that.
day is just beginning.
Well,
the G2 week, technically, has been the best for a while in that they've pulled points, but also it's been one of the biggest news weeks for G2. For those who haven't heard, I know it was briefly mentioned on the desk. Shas, his contract was not renewed. And it was even a bit of a surprise to the players based on tweets from Citizen as well. And that broke yesterday. So to come into a game I mean, Shasta said he's working with the team for the rest of the split, but it's still something that eats away at you when any manager, any coach leaves, let alone somebody who has been so impactful to this game.
yeah, I mean, he is, you know, no matter how things have gone down with G2 over the past couple of years, Shas is the most decorated coach in the history of Rainbow Six Siege. That's a fact that nobody can dispute. And having this sort of change, especially now in the middle of the stage, is definitely going to be, you know, something that weighs on your mind. But you would think a team like G2 and an organization like that also will be able to stand this major test and continue through it. And, you know, if last game day's result speaks for anything, it's for that, you know, professionality of the squad. But just like they're mentioning on the desk, this is the true test. Fabian expects this one today to be the real deal. And should G2 be able to go up against MNM, and especially accounting for Heroic's loss today, that could spell some pretty good news for the squad that have been looking for the second major of the year. They still made it to, you know, the first major. Can they make it off the back of Heroic again? And Skyscraper is the place we go to.
Okay, Sky, what are you going to offer us? Hopefully something a little bit sharp for these two teams that have both had their own struggles and their own journeys, but at this point into Playday, dead ahead of them and seeing what they can try and pull out of each other. MNM, they've been on a bit of an up and up. They've been able to have some moments, and obviously Nello sort of got himself in a position on the previous interview where he wants to build and get a bit further into this. And this could be a good moment because technically you're looking at an opponent that could also be knocking at the top 4 in the same way that you are as you grow into this.
Yeah. Big questions now on how Skyscraper will go down for G2, and I don't know if it's still been decided, you know, what side really gets more of a favorable site, you know, play on Skyscraper. At least in Europe, it does not get played often. So getting to see this is not a usual thing. I know the map's been in for a while, but I don't think a side or a team also in the region has established dominance just yet. But in the meantime, it's MNM just going through the usual motions, which is, hey, we're going to try breaching on this northern side, take control of the opposite end of the map where the defense is actually happening, which is engage the T room, and then from there, try to engage and drop onto site, overwhelm it once the time gets through. But the checklist is a pretty major one on Sky.
The approach starts here over the top and the focus towards Alamo, heading onto Drum. It's the important split of this second story. The way you can try and funnel and push people over towards the side of Dragon, sure, but It's this bit of a pinch pressure here, and that comes from Nello on the side of Geisha. You sort of catch the rotation. Similar to ways that you're looking at the separation between the top floor of Clubhouse, here is the same. They've seen that it's free territory on the opposite side, and they can now move across and focus on construction on Club. But here it is this dragon area with the shield caught out on the other side. The swing is much tougher, and they have to fall back a little bit further.
So now this drum take, how will it go? Smoke is out and also destroying the Flores drone before his Rataro drone before it can actually get into position, take down that powerful shield. Saltov has made it into sight. Doki taking a lot of damage here, playing by the black boxes, but he's somehow still alive. Where's the support here for Saltov? He's solo and Doki has just slipped through the attack. What's happened there?
Well, that's it. He's been able to find a little bit of a new location. They've got control of drum. They've dropped 2 shields, and it's a steady sort of slow bit of progress. And now the focus comes towards gold and getting this bit open popped. Solotov, he's moved into Geisha, the slightly new free area that they might be able to play some pinch here. There's still players underneath. There's still a presence, and it's still a bit of a dangerous drive you have to make towards the site itself. But G2, they're aware of this, and they're aware that they can try and cause some problems. MNM, they've had a steady roll across the top, and now they've just got that final tricky step to make. Force the player outside, almost get the catch. There it is. Tyrant locks in, removes Alamau. Finally, some blood happens around gold. 30 seconds, and the push has to come towards this plant.
It has to come in now. Citizen playing behind that diffuser. Nello is going in for the plant, almost setting it down on the floor. And there it is. Diffuser has been planted. In the meantime, impacts out into Nella. That'll do damage. He's sitting in the cubby solo. But what can Virtue do to stop this here? PRANO is coming in on the flank through that staircase. Doki takes down Tyrant, but in the meantime, unable to take down the second. What'll be? It'll Virtue walking up the staircase. Solotov's taken one down, but Drum, there's 2 players waiting in there for that position. PRANO, can he sneak through? Virtue has been taken down. Solotov just using the LMG to his advantage, but Citizen shutting him down, leaving it in a 2 versus 2. Users and Neo across the line. Users will find one with the AK-12. Drum, the power position, is doing so well as Users gets another MNM, collecting the first round.
MNM very good push and pressure and prod of the players further and further out of the control that they seem they wanted to have of the map. It's the thing about Sky, as I said, it starts in that similar way. They cut off the rotation, they cleared the territory next to it, and the next focus was on that divide between Drum and the gantry on the opposite side. The clearance of the 2 shields without being able to catch a player. Okay, it was a bit of a slip through, but they made sure they kept the pressure moving. They made sure that every single step they were doing was something that drove them closer and closer towards the site itself. And, well, it doesn't really matter if you have the players killed in a situation where you have the post plant and then you have that little bit of a lockdown, a bit of a back and forth with the first kill going to your favor, leads to you having the player with 1 eye left.
Well, what happens now for G2 in the round? They're bringing the Valkyrie, which, you know, you're not really thinking of Valkyrie much because usually she gets banned. So not a lot of teams are actually able to run her, even if they wanted to. But might be the adaptation. There's a lot of places for you to set up those black eyes, really give you a lot of info and intel on your opponents as they walk into this building. There's no more of that whole, hey, we are going to put Valkyrie cams outside. That's no longer a thing. But I think Skyscraper is one of the perfect maps and probably the best maps to actually set up cams properly and use those to your advantage. There's still one that hasn't been deployed by Citizen, but otherwise you're looking at a Thunderbird also from PRANO. Citizen might be eyeing an attack here. He's going to need a bit more info and maybe throwing out 1 camera to gauge the situation, and then diving out might be the play for it. Tyrant's watching and waiting. There it is. It's almost lost that feed. You're limited to those 10 seconds, but it's just not going to run out. Probably the smart decision to make in this situation. Play back, play your advantage with cams inside.
Well, I think that's it with Valkyrie. I mean, obviously, was a terror, now an internal terror in their own way, and the MPX in the right hands can be a beam, but you can still play a bit of a high risk there, and the high reward just didn't come through it on the other side. Now they're going to steady their way through. The IQ is going to try and piece apart the other remaining problems and cameras as they once again go for this take over the top. It is still that fragmented approach here on the top floor. It's a game of 2 halves that you play generally on 1 half, and here they've at least been able to get to the other side of it.
So Tyrant droning in, making sure there's nobody sitting here as he's far away in Shrine, of course, with these drones. One nade's going to be locked in by one of the whammy discs, and the second grenade will say a lot finally, but there's nobody on the other side. Doki's going to be forced out of the room, but not much more than that. Oh, might have been able to find the Oryx of Alamau in the meantime. There's two players sitting inside of the bar down in the center of the first floor. Solotov's onto something, but he needs more support. He cannot be the one droning for himself. Bit of damage done here on the cross, at least we've heard, but no, maybe healed up by the Thunderbird that had set up for Kuna stations. Users take a lot of damage on the IQ that, again, we do not get to see often, but a response to the Valkyrie.
Holding, waiting, and trying to find that little pocket that they can apply the pressure in, but there is still a presence in Geisha, and that could be the big blow right now because it's all wasted time. They cannot get the kit down until they get that kill. They swing around and get the first on the stair set, though. Somehow Alamau's that one gone. Virtue playing on the back of Black. Doki's getting into the next engagement. As I said, they got to clear him out, but he gets the kit cold. 30 seconds. Doesn't get us escape. A very important refrag, but also the time that he wasted above could turn out to be monumental. Virtue ducks down. PRANO knocked out. Now they're putting a little bit of that flat danger and damage down towards the site, but you're still looking at a pocket full of seconds and a player trying to get the spray down. Neo's tucked in the corner. Usus gets himself a triple, leaves just Virtue. Finds Usus on the reverse vertical, but it's a post plant, and it is still a spread out hold. You can see the MNM players. They have themselves down the supply line of structure. It's pantry, it's above, and it's one just tucked around on the corner of the site. Really nothing Virtue can do at this point, apart from throw impacts and try and at least take one, but unfortunately not to be found.
Not to be found. Solotov, great position. There's no need for you to push out of the site once the plant is set. You only do it and get I guess, not really over-aggressive. You will push your advantage deeper into site before you plant to create more time and zone out defenders. In this case, that diffuser was planted almost instantly, diving in through the window into kitchen, getting the plant down, and then falling back. There's no reason for you to attempt to take a bigger space, especially when it had turned into a 3v1. The move has to be made by the defense, and G2 did not have much of an option. Nice shot, Virtue, as he looked upstairs and took down Solotov, but that's about it that you'll get in the round. Defense having a bit of a rough time here, but maybe that is the expectation. And I really liked the IQ as an adaptation to Citizen's Valkyrie. Now, how much Citizen had an impact with his Black Eyes, not too sure, which will explain why MNM are not picking the IQ again. They go for the Amaru instead of the Thermite that gets swapped out for Yuzu's Ace. So two swaps in for the attackers on the MNM side, with Neo bringing the oh-so-powerful Ying. Very easy to flood the site and keep digging very much past the defense.
Doki now is going to be the one that steps into the idea of, let's see if anybody's outside the building. Hey, there's a close rappel and a rope that's going to slowly not do anything. Swings in the floor underneath and doesn't take the fight that they might have expected.
So, Doki, is he actually going to be able to run out from this? There was no reason to, really. You already had one hole open on the upper floor. You're not going to find anyone here going into the stock area. So TYRANT's going to walk into bedroom, just take bottom floor control bit by bit. But there it is. The Citizen Cam is giving info. Finally, we get to see it in action. Thank you very much, Medics, our observer, for giving us the intel that is also needed. The TYRANT has not been able to find that entry yet, and nobody from G2 has either.
But MNM, they've been a bit slow on their approaches before. They know how to handle the time when it comes to it, and it seems like G2 are the ones that are trying to just keep the structure into their favor. There's a cheeky almost catch. PRANO takes a lot of damage, but look at this, the pings onto the side of Pantry. They had an awareness of the player. They can see the Valkyries making some movements, and Solotov's going to step into the fight, but the pressure comes down the stairs itself. They are isolated, but they're a problem. And the play that was being done by the opposite side on the stairs made sure that MNM weren't comfortable swinging it. They're able to retreat. They're able to pull themselves back, keep it a 5 versus 5, and keep some of the control. If they want to take the drop onto the gantry down drum, they could. But they're going to opt and hold off for now and hope that the hold on the site stays together.
Yeah. Alamo is going to prove to everybody that his position is definitely worth holding. There's the nade out, and PRANO will take a lot of damage, but that's the power of the Thunderbird. Your Kona stations will bring you back up to close to full HP in this case. You're at 55, 60 health. You can do a lot of work remaining alive and holding the staircase, where, let's be fair, there's no reason for you to ever attempt to walk up the stairs when you know that there's a defender watching out for you. There's the Ying out in full action. Neo's going to get taken down, or no, that's Nello in the meantime is going to get taken down. User's fragged out, but Neo's going to rush in. The flashes are doing work, but it's still an advantage for G2. One left alive, and that's Neo on his own, having to protect his position. He gets two out of it. No Citizen, and the wrong spot at the wrong time. At least positive for PRANO is that he's able to get himself back up to full HP. Neo will do the same. Remember, those Kona stations, they work both ways, not just for all the holes have been opened up. 10 seconds left, and PRANO is holding on to drum solo. Neo still has the diffuser in hand. He can plant at any point in time. He's got to be careful which position he ends up choosing to go for. And this amount of time might allow Neo to fire back. Should be planting the right moment. There it is. Swings the other side, but it's PRANO to win it out. Neo, nice try, but it's PRANO doing the work, getting the kills necessary. Happy with that win.
I mean, I think the kill onto Citizen was a surprise to him as much as it was to anybody else. It was a bit of the drop down the hatch, and when you've got an LMG in your hands, they do that sort of fight well. The fight over 2 stories and 2 players. PRANO cleverly tucked himself in there away as far as possible. He knew the timer was something that could be in his favor. It's that risk, it's that flick of a coin. 1 different second and he gets a free kill. I mean, 1 second later and the Ying has more of an even fight against you, but it came through. G2's still going to take this time to talk though, because it really shouldn't have got that close.
No, definitely should not really in that 1v1, but still, G2 calling an early tack timeout. I actually really like that. Most teams will take quite a bit of time before they decide on, all right, let's cool it down and realize what's happening, try to fix it. G2, maybe this is the new leadership or whatever it may be, a change of pace in the team. They call this timeout early, and I believe the perfect time to do so. Doki speaking to his teammates, getting everybody back in action, making sure that they don't lose the momentum, which is, you know, a very open word. There's no real way to describe it in terms of like practical impact on the match, but at least telling his teammates, hey, got to pull it together. Here's strategy. Let's put it in. Let's get another round. We need it to happen. Don't get too aggressive. And I love seeing that. Very well timed.
Do you? Is it one of your favorite things to say?
Honestly, it's my favorite, as some would say. You know, finding the right words when you're barely functional after the past week, or you know, a week of barely functioning. You don't have to tell me
twice.
No, you know exactly what I'm feeling,
I do.
So we'll shake on it.
Play-by-play casting. In a heat wave in England, there's a heat wave going around.
Same in France.
With the but you've got AC.
I don't. I can't use it. My voice would.
You can turn it on. Okay.
That's true. Okay, I'll give you that.
I have to have the windows closed because I have already had noise complaints.
Yeah.
And I have COVID, and TYRANT almost has a fight.
There's a noise complaint from the outside and Skyscraper, I can tell you that. If you're shooting outside the windows, there's going to be a noise complaint.
Oh, they look like they want to try and do a little bit more of it. Caught the drone just before they went a little bit further onto the swing there. Citizen's going to pull back. Again, G2 moving around as a pair. That sort of exploration of the map, we saw it in the previous round where there was the success. Doki and Citizen sort of holding hands, skipping through and trying to put bullets into anyone that they came across. It's obviously been a bit of a conversation, a complaint about some of G2's plays, is that sometimes it feels a little bit disjointed and a little bit separated. If they can find a way to funnel that insane gun skill into that sort of joint effort, it could be incredible.
It definitely could be. Now, what can go down on this assault? There's still no control on the key positions, or at least it is just going to be established right now, which is taking control of drum, taking control of the entire hallway that would allow you to drop into the site, breach that wall, and get on it. You got the ace for it, you got the thermite, you got the Flores, you got the Thatcher, you have all the tools necessary. So MNM have scouted things out very well in the prep phase and made sure that they have the proper set for it. In operators, there it is, even the shield being taken down on the site. Unfortunately, that rotation hole is going to come back to bite G2 in this spot.
I mean, it was a very well-driven drone. I said they were good at getting rid of those shields and getting control of the space before. They've done it in a slightly different approach here, but there's a slightly different hold from G2, almost expecting to lose that territory and trying to pull some of that utility back a little bit further so they can try and have it at the most important part, rebuffing the plant itself. The Flores drone still trying to roll out. That one doesn't quite make the full journey and adventure. And, well, as the smoke canisters, as I said, stop it. There's still this focus of utility. There's still this idea that we can stop this plant getting itself put down. The tucking of the players underneath. No free catch on Alamau inside gold this time. He's more attuned and aware and has a little bit more wiggle room. But it's slowly having bullets filtered through it. There's another smoke canister. There's another stop on Tyrant. This grenade might get the final catch, but MNM just has to go for it. Driving themselves through. There goes Alamau. They've got themselves wrapped around, and Solotov somehow found somebody underneath, but Doki stops the bleeding, and Virtue doubles it down and doubles himself too. Yusuf and Solotov knocked off the board. A handful of seconds left, and Tyrant also all that is there. G2 find their second in a row.
Very well done by G2, and MNM could not capitalize on their position. By all intents and purposes, they had every single key point locked down. They got the right kills at the right time. There was no contention from the bottom floor, but you saw MNM trying to take gunfights that simply were not necessary, but also not firing or suppressing any players that would be, for example, on the staircase or in the hallway, key positions that you would find and you would be, you would need to engage with at some point. So some confusion in kind of the haze and days of the last 10 seconds for MNM, but G2 capitalized on it. And this is what I love about G2 in its history, is that one thing you can't take away from them is that when things get really, really loud and really kind of action-packed, they're still able to keep it calm and bring it together. And that round was an excellent example of how to get it done. But the question is, can they keep on doing it? One of the more balanced maps, at least in terms of halves here for us in the EU League. Will this turn into an advantage for G2 in the first half? That's definitely something they're looking for, which they have not had so far in this first half, tying it up 2-2.
I mean, it's been a bit better from G2, as I said. We're seeing that sort of connectivity, and we're seeing that good approach in terms of fighting back on the defense. It's not the truest taste, and obviously we're still getting the full bite out of what Skyscraper can offer teams, let alone specific teams. But if it's something where we start to see a bit of a drive of momentum, that could be the most important factor across the two halves. The drawing game still improving, still coming together from MNM. They've had a lot of reveals on the players and just not had the, I guess, idea to go and get the swings. It seems like they're much more happy and confident getting a full player close down on a player rather than going for the risky 1v1s, which against a team that's made up of players that can do things like that, it makes sense. Users tries to get the pick up on Doki, but Doki has slipped away once again, arm in arm with Citizen. They're making sure they have that support structure.
That's a great slap there from Doki, and that's the power of the MX4. You can tell this is partly why Alibi gets run. We talked about it a couple games ago, or we talk about it here. The MX4 is good. You can do work, and then you have a very flexible kit on the Alibi. There's a reason why the operator is used as extensively as she is here in the EU League. The Tyrant being shot down is great here. No more grenades. The Yana is always kind of this operator that can do a lot of damage in any point in time in the round. Great gun, great utility, and all. So removing that is a great advantage that G2 might be able to capitalize upon. But drones in front of MNM, can they, though, find these long angle kills?
Wow, Solotov is found by Doki, who's still able to get these quick strikes in. He's really lit up over the past couple of rounds and made big problems for MNM's steady approach. It's still a slightly different hold and pull back. As I said, they have this synergy working alongside each other at this point, but they're making sure that they still pop their heads up and cause a bit of trouble on the way out the door. Usus, he's trying to find his way slowly through it, and the push of Neo comes on the split side. Nobody is revealed on the top of the black stairs as they can't quite get the full catch. Virtue finds Nello, and Doki finds one more, looks for the final connection. They know where he is. They know that there's nowhere for him to really go with 40 seconds. Doki's looking for the fight with everything he's got. It's a full orders for G2.
Great on Doki here. He did an excellent job, obviously, the whole round, but Doki's ability to just move around the map and keep his opponents on lock the whole time is definitely impressive. G2 Korean towards the end of this first half with an advantage, at least for now, might be able to turn it into a 4-2. But I want to take a moment here as MNM have taken their tactical timeout. And it's good that we're seeing both tactical timeouts called in the first half, by the way. An incredible rarity, at least from what I can tell, because teams don't actually use them properly, if you're to ask me. But one thing that Fabian talked about is that MNM are definitely this diamond in the rough. There's a lot that they can show. And we've been talking about this through, Invitational, through stage 1, and now in stage 2. There's so much that they can accomplish that they just need more and more of that experience. We said the same. I want to take you back to, 2018, end of 2018 to 2019, when Dark Zero, for example, was being formed as the team that we know today. It was the same thing. This is a team that could do a lot. A lot of young players also being added in. It took time and it happened eventually. There's nothing that would say that this history would not repeat again with the EU League team, especially the UCL team that came in. This is their first stage that they get to play, their second stage, their first year that they get to play here in EUL. So a lot of potential for MNM. It's just, how realized will it be? For all the engineers out there, I ask you to take out your vector diagrams. It's time for us to do a bit of math.
Oh, no.
What is the unrealized potential of MNM? I'm not an engineer myself, so here we are.
Wait.
Yes?
Maths is the worst. Maths is worst.
English is too. I agree.
Okay, MNM, 2 timeouts used in the opening half. If there's ever a little flag that waves that says this is an important game for both teams, yeah, that's the one. We'll start to see dreams of Berlin dying sooner rather than later, and that divide in the middle getting closer and closer. If MNM take the full 3 points from this game, they actually leapfrog themselves up into 4th place, currently at least, and obviously that might be subject to change depending on what happens, I believe, still with games in hand, but still. It's a place you want to be if you found yourself already going through some of the toughest rivals. G2, they would find themselves level with MNM if they take this, obviously taking the head-to-head, pushing them a little bit further ahead, but the journey of 1,000 steps to the 100 yards you're away from the venue at Berlin starts with but a single 3 points. Now, this moment, this bit of a hole, this push, it'll start to formulate and bring itself together here. Doki, he's keeping a keen eye on the split there, the hold either side as the swing starts its way. Its progress over the top, as I said, the telling tale of this might be where we find ourselves on the opposite split. A bit of attention is paid round onto gold. The spray, the prey, and the pop down. Not going to stick around and find out how the story ends, because usually it's bloodshed and you don't want that until at least another 30 seconds have passed. But still, this Roman movement game from G2 has been very well put together. Almost suffered Solotov, who hit the pre-fire and almost hit it again there. Doki getting double banged up by the single position as Solotov goes to take over control of Dragon.
What's the potential here? Look at the rotation for Virtue. He dropped the hatch. He can rotate back if he wants to through the staircase, but he actually has support near him. Now, I'm thinking maybe there's a bit too much to have in that first floor, but oh, Alamau missing. Not sure what happened there at the cross, but is at least going to hold on to the bar. In the meantime, Virtue is able to walk back up the stairs, leaving Citizen down below still. But it's that upper bit that's proving difficult to take back Solotov. One onto PRANO, a pre-placed C4 that could be used up later on. And just slowing things down for a moment here, MNM trying to breach into sight.
That's it, they're trying to put a flat bit of pressure around. There's pings on player locations, but it's such a no man's land at this point. Virtue, he's holding the swing, ready to rock and roll. As soon as anybody steps on that floor, it's an explosion followed by a player. There it is, Nello caught out, but TYRANT bites back. And now he's got to try and filter his way towards the site itself. Alamau is all that's left, but not for very long. An even half.
An even half, not too bad here, which kind of coincides with how this map goes in overall in the league. Again, you might be looking at statistics that account for all the regions for this past 6 months, but here in EUL, Skyscraper does not get played so often, especially not as often as it does in other regions. That's for sure. We saw it last Playday was Rogue versus Outsiders. I won't tell you how that went down. You'll have to go and watch that game. It'll be a quick watch. I'm just going to tell you that. Otherwise, it was on Playday number 2 before that. So that's it. This is the third time we get to see this in EUL as a map, and that is in 24 matches seen these times. So that tells you something about the league and where it usually goes to. But G2 are now on the attack. They're bringing the Osa, they're bringing the Ying. And the beauty of our new system that's been added over the past few months is that you can just switch up any attacker that you want in the prep phase, but there will be no swaps over from anybody of G2. The MNM are running, in the meantime, the Warden, which is a perfect counter to the Smoke, Osa plus Ying combination that we're seeing from G2.
I'm curious to see what the growth could be from that. It is a setup and it's a creative attack that could get itself delivered on good grounds, but you're also up against the Warden of Tyrant. You're up against somebody who has the magical goggles that can stop a lot of the magical play that might be in the pockets here. And it also comes at the cost of synergy. Being able to get that delivery hasn't always been the best part of the G2 supply line. It might be the start here. The pressure onto Geisha. The attempt at removal of that player with PRANO and the Osa setting themselves up towards the top of Black Stairs. The backside of the site is one where you have to pay a bit of attention to. The multifaceted focus means that somebody's got to start this party off.
No bangs, though, to start this all off here. We're at the 2-minute mark, so no assault has happened thus far. The G2 are all piled up at the doorway, awaiting their push into that tea room and karaoke space. But you see how MNM are playing from the outside of it. This is unusual. Usually teams, like what happened when MNM were on the attack, they'll be attacking from the opposite end of the map through Dragon, through Drum, and then making their way into site. MNM could play this as a retake, but given the positions that you have on this map, retakes are not always something that you can prime yourselves for when you got windows and LMGs to deal with, especially not when there's an Osa on the field where these extra power positions could be set up by the attackers themselves. Speaking of which, PRANO a bit of damage, but the rest of G2 setting up to go.
Nello is doing as much as he can to hold on to the core of this site, this hold. It's the first time that we've seen someone try and directly strike from underneath, but it's not quite getting the full catch that they want. It was something where MNM instead sort of had it locked in, but a little bit of a soft gave them more to work with. The Candelas start to scream their way, and there's Doki getting that confirmation on that player and pushing themselves up that staircase. It gives you a very powerful cross angle, and you can see that they've actually had to pull themselves MNM a little bit back inside Drum and hope that they can try and cut off the execute. Solitov pops up, pops Doki back down. The rest of G2 sat sort of on the edges. The breach and the break is ready and willing to go, but they just need that now new first push. Citizen is trying to find the head of the player that's spraying towards them, but MNM aren't giving them the territory, and they know they don't quite have the lockdown, and it's a big final rotate here for the Osa. It's a long, hefty map to make this sort of change up of a play at this moment, but they have no real other options, so they're going to try and utilize the Talon shield and drive that in towards the site and the plant itself. If they can buy themselves a pocket of space, they can make use of it. Citizen gets a kill. They don't get the shield down. That's the most important part. The man with the magical glasses has them pop on at the right possible time. Virtue sprays and gets them down. They can't quite get the full connection with the kid. It's the 2 versus 1 post plant, and it's not very long. MNM find their first defense.
Very well done here for MNM to hold on. Look at Solitov already in 11-4. The man is on fire. Nello, all his skills are being stolen by his teammate. That's how we're going to say. I'm sure that's what he's going to say. Should we get to the interview? Definitely a confirmation from his compatriot Medics, who is our observer, of course, for this game. The 2 Croats that make the league happen. That's all I'm going to say about that topic.
They drive the league.
They drive the yes, they're shipping the league to Berlin.
Attackers need to locate and defuse as many bombs as they can.
There you go. That's all you need to know. G2 bringing the Amaru, potentially. Yes. That's all.
You know,
what more would you want, Emma? What are you asking for?
Oh, too much.
Indeed.
No, you're right. They do drive the league, and this game has now been driven a little bit by Nello, who, to be honest, well, he needs to drive something. 0 to 7 at this point hasn't quite had that full connection, and we've just seen Kanto, another old experienced head, have a 0 to 10 in their game versus Wolves. Sure, it is still an even match, and Solotov is popping off, but one loose wheel in a game where 9 other players are connecting, sometimes that's all it takes, unfortunately, for the other team to get that control.
Yep. It's still a shooter, you know. If you're doing well, you can propel your team over that line. And so far, MNM's kills have been coming down to Solotov, but there he is. I mean, speak of the devil. What a rascal there. Doki taking down a bit of a taste of his own medicine. MPX on the other MPX operator. That'll open things right up for MNM on the round, and G2 find themselves 1 Yana short, and that is not a short joke, by the way. Those are just an ARX and a couple grenades rolling down on the ground. It's not going to feel good for G2 on this setup here.
They now have at least something else they can try and build behind, though, which is that missing player. Sometimes it can drive a team, and sometimes it can try and bring some focus, and the lack of focus has been something that had them in a tricky last second rotate on the previous round. Neo, in the meantime, he's buying as much time as possible as the Flores drone starts to try and wear their way around and take care of some of the utility on the opposite side. The first one is the catch. There goes one of those little walls from the blade, and there goes a smoke canister, just to buy you a second at this point and make sure nobody's trying to move and swing behind it.
Virtue now setting up with his Rataro drones. Coming up. Some stuff being destroyed here, which is not great. You always want to have as much of your util as possible to use up on those shields. Nade's being cooked up here, and it will go down onto Dragon, but Solotov, it doesn't matter for him, shrapnel or not. He's got users also in the backline support, taken down 2. Alamau snapped back to reality, back to Brazil in this one. 2 players left from G2, and Citizen and PRANO. The MNM are looking for a perfect half. There's one more for Solotov. He's just collecting all of them. Citizen left alive with what more than just a hope. Solotov on 15 kills, and doorways are literally being locked off of him. There you go. Finally, Solotov taken down, but to what avail?
Well, Citizen has another 4 players to try and dig his way through, and about 10 seconds per player puts you in a bit of maths that doesn't quite work its way out too favorably. Another canister stops the rotate through what was his only option. The Gon 6 is going to give him at least another one, but there's a C4 that's about to swing his way. Doesn't even make the catch, though. It's Usus that locks it in. MNM, they find 2 rounds in a row. The first time anyone's been able to do that since pretty much the opening of the game. One more, and they secure themselves, OT, at least.
The advantage that they have been looking for here, MNM, 2 rounds differential, is absolutely fantastic for you. Give yourself the space, just in case there's a loss or a mistake happens there. You don't have to worry about it. Keep in mind, both teams have already used up their tactical timeouts. It's unusual, but both were used in the first half. Personally, I'm a fan of actually using your timeout rather than never using it, because you'd be surprised how many teams don't touch it until the end of the game, or literally their last round before they lose. So maybe they get 1 and then they take an L after it. So it's good that everything's being used up. But here the question is, can MNM keep this streak up? And can they keep Doki down, really? That last round started off with a bang. Solotov got a fantastic kill on a Doki, and from that moment on, G2 were knocked off base instantly.
I mean, I guess it was something I said in the previous round. I want to focus on the main man, the creation, not being able to get the connection, but it might be the thing that pulls you apart. And I did mention, even if Solotov's having a big game, but apparently it's bigger than big. And maybe that's the thing that makes it hard for it. It's a drive-through, and obviously his performance in that previous round, again, if you are up against a super team of fraggers, regardless of how well they're performing at the minute, you definitely want your big pocket players to pop off. Solotov definitely is. Now, and they just push this over the final line. TYRANT is eyeing up the idea of a swing round here onto the breach, but it's about to be under a little bit more pressure in just a moment as the wall gets popped. Doki finds Neo, Solitaire finds Alamau. Trade for trade and blow for blow, with nobody getting an immediate pickup onto either, but Doki is currently knocking on at least the castle door of the site, making some issues for the player that's playing on the top of Black Stairs.
Yeah, that's a bit of a problem there. The Ying being taken down, and especially more since MNM are not bringing a Warden for this match. Of course, G2 have the opportunity to drone and actually react to what the defenders are doing. Thank God that has been an addition over the past 6 months. But this is something that has got away on G2. Yes, Alamau has not had an impact on this match just yet, going 1-8-3, but those Incandelas plus the smoke would have been fantastic for a push onto site, especially given that you can breach pretty easily into this kitchen position from the window and plant effectively from there. Nitro being ripped open by Nello, maybe a pre-placed one to set up here, but I'm not seeing much of that just yet. G2 really stalling for time.
Stalling might not be the question. Stalling might not be the word.
Oh no.
Doki, that was almost a flashback to Bank. It wasn't this time around. That second grenade gets loose through the door. It was Citizen. It was just on the swing. They're going to ping the breach and try and push the player out from behind the back of Barbecue. They're going to find themselves in what is a very tricky situation. They almost get the kill out of it. They have the smarts to move based on the audio of it being planted. Can't quite get it out. It's the trade between the two, but they get the breach open. 40 seconds. And Users, he's creeping his way over the top. Those pings on the player. There's a bit of a reveal as Nello gets closer and closer, hoping to find something. Doesn't quite get the right angle. The close C4 doesn't get the catch either, but they've tucked themselves over the side of Sushi. Citizen was watching the back stairs and was able to take care of 20 seconds in a 3 versus 2.
Citizen walking in and no, Nello's watching. The Nitro will miss. Virtue taking down Users in the meantime. A bit of a pre-fire from Nello. This is the moment for him to shine. He's already collected 1 kill. They know exactly where he is. Can he go for the pre-fire? One of the players is busy, and I'll continue busy dropping that diffuser down. Virtue will save the round, and G2 get 1 more on the board. They're first in the second half.
Well, it was the third site, and that's the one thing to take into the consideration here is that the deal breaker? Is that the difference maker? Is that going to be the thing that potentially puts them not in a state of suffering, but in a moment where they might be able to pull things together? Karaoke tea is where we go.
Locate and defuse as many bombs as they can.
I don't know what that means. Is that a reference to something?
They're saying a player in this game is having the game of their life.
Ah, is that what it means? I wonder why they call them that. I gotta brush up on my Siege lingo, not gonna lie. I'm too old well, for a lot of things.
It's, you assume, just a loving nickname.
A loving nickname it is. Thank you very much. I'm always looking for clarification from you. Always pays out. But you know what?
You're the one that runs the interview. If you get a chance to interview,
I'm not doing anything. It's Tim.
Okay.
I'm just holding on here, my dear. For dear life. So, Nello on the zombie for the round. Not sure where it's going to be run here, at least the bottom floor. Walking on up.
Well, I guess at this point you're looking at MNM as having the chance to push themselves from that point on this round. As I said before, the site rotation was something that came through, and the struggle here was G2 didn't quite have that final moment of execute. Hey, they're coming. All right, let's leave. Seems to be the MO this time. I pointed out Doki was able to do a bit of a strike underneath the core stairs of this site last time. They're not opting for the same approach here because it didn't quite have the same success. If we recall, MNM actually got themselves entirely set round onto the side of Drum, and from that position were able to pretty much stall out G2, and G2 isn't going to fall for that again. So instead, they're going to start their work here on the opposite side where MNM ended their round, get control of rafters, get control of drum, and then maybe go back to the approach on the top of black stairs instead. Either way, you'll do hopefully at least enough from the G2 books to put some fear into them. Doki caught on his way out the door just by a spray round. TYRANT still has a shield. It's a bit of a power position, and he's going to lean into that now. Refires a couple of angles and then tucks himself in as the breach comes towards the side of Geisha.
There you go, opening up the wall. Now the entry is at least facilitated, but how far can you walk in with how MNM have set up around that breached wall? You can always kind of corner your opponents in there, especially if G2 decide to have too many players sitting in. Nello will go in and close out that breach to make it extra difficult for G2 to do anything of the sort. You're going to need to use one of your sets of grenades for that set. And Doki's going to find the kill on the Yuzus. He gets incredibly aggressive, actually barging through the Surya gate and destroying that default cam. You might think that this is a very aggressive and weird take, but Doki's play here might have been the perfect one given the utility that was destroyed and the power position that was shut down and taken through. Now he's going to walk in and use the breach in the wall to his advantage, the one that the defense has set up for rotations. Alamao finding his kill on a TYRANT. Things looking great for G2 at a 5v3.
Wanted to try and take the fight with whoever just played the grenade, and Citizen's actually going to just swing around at the last second. No, quite get the true angle. Solotov finds them. 20 seconds. They've still got to get the kit down, and now it's the 4 versus 3 versus 2 as they at least stop the roll of Doki, who bit big into this round. They've tucked themselves into the site, but there it is. Solotov with a rotation. The C4 attempt doesn't get the catch. It's Nello to find Alamao. It's Virtue to put them in the 1 versus 1. The other player is down underneath. Virtue has the kit. He's looking for at least somewhere that might be deemed safe. Nello. He's going for the quick sprint all the way up. He's not going to make it in time, but he might get the pop-up. There's the ping, there's the reveal, there's the player, the rotation and the pre-fire, and Virtue's just tucked in the corner as best as he can, holding onto the angle and hoping he gets it right by the audio. It's pre-fires. It's a catch from Nello. And there it is, just out on the brink. MNM put themselves onto map point.
Are you serious? Oh my god, the Croatian sensation. I'm sorry, Medics. You're gonna lose that title after that headshot from Nello. Beautifully played the one tap to end it all and putting MNM on match point. 1 round away from total victory against G2. That'll be, again, the big test that Fabian was talking about on the desk. If G2 can take down MNM, then this will be the real one. This will prove that G2 have had the changes that are oh so necessary. And a reminder, we talked about this earlier on in the cast, you and I, Emmy, that Shas will be off of the team, basically, by the end of the stage, but still here to live out and ride out the entire stage with the team. So hopefully for G2, this might say something, but at least G2, they cannot get all 3 points in this game. Might turn out the same as we had another game earlier on today with an opponent that G2 are very much associated with here in EU League, in Heroic that is, but gonna come down to a lot of work on the attacking side and the Nook being brought up by Alama.
That's the big blow right now on the side of G2, especially after Secret were obviously able to pull some success earlier on today. Is you're only as sort of safe as how close you are to the bottom of the board, regardless of where you are on the top, and they're still dangerously close, and now not being able to get the full fat points in this, let alone maybe any, to be decided over these final 2 rounds. It's not just important about the upcoming major, it's important about their upcoming future in terms of keeping themselves competitive. But Nello, MNM, led behind, has started to find a little bit of that energy, a little bit of that spark. Obviously, I know I've highlighted him a couple times. Solotov sitting 19-7. Really just being a massive flag waiver for MNM right now.
So what do G2 do? They're already in the building, at least. That's something. But Alama has to sneak through defenses, utility, and a shotgun looking, staring right down into the doorway. And for that, there's going to be a lot more than just a gun to be used up against him. Alama Losing one of the drones, also having a drone in front of him that could give him info, but TYRANT is just holding on. Oh, so close here. The bullets are rattling right above, and Doki might be the one for support, but he's going to fall back. There's also, you saw those Wamai discs that have been set up, so G2 at least gain the position, but gain it without doing any damage. In this case, to their opponent, who's just able to destroy whatever position is left.
6 grenades, and they've loosed over half of them now on a single stair set that hasn't really netted anything but a bit of damage. They also tried to rebuild the breach just done round on the side of VIP, the top, and oh, there's a pop onto a Prisma. TYRANT looks for the follow-up there, though. He's retaken the position that they're still using more grenades to clear. That one does a lot of damage to Zolotov. Doesn't quite get the full connection and kill, but the second one surely does. 6 grenades spent, 1 body found, and a bit of damage done. But 50 seconds now to try and do that final pressure and stress to the site.
Neo watching out. In fact, Solotov has been shot down. A beautiful grenade, finally, but it used up all the grenades that were available for G2. That's 3 sets of grenades, and is it worth it is the question for what it eventually is just a warden. But then it's Solotov, so at some point you gotta let those grenades ring. Neo will find a kill on a Doki, and Yuz gets the second. G2 unable to breach effectively, but I say that in the meantime, PRANO is getting the plant down. Virtue will get 1 kill. He knows there's 1 more player in Neo right behind the bar here, sitting inside a lounge. But Yuz's gotten 1. Look at the peek around the corner from Virtue. Makes it happen. 2 left, and TYRANT and Yuzu swinging around the corner. Virtue will not be able to collect the kill. He's the last one alive. He gets the kill on a Yuzu. We've seen this so many times with Virtue left alive. But this time, he'll lose it out. TYRANT collects the kill. MNM victorious against G2. What a day.
Just pushing it over the line there at the end. It was a lot of trades, a lot of scrappy fights, and a lot of final 30-second pushes for both teams. But MNM, they were just able to do enough on the first half where both teams took their tack time out, drive themselves into success on the second. I can guess who's going to be the MVP, but I think the most important thing, I doubt it. I would be surprised, especially with the performance Solotov put in, but MNM, they take points and they jump their way into the top 4. And that is a very big move to make this late in the swing of the season, the turn of the half. Where will they end up? Well, that's the road ahead. Before that, a break and a desk after that.